Aytekin, welcome to the show.
Welcome back. Being back at the show is great. It's been 5 years.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. It's like amazing how time flies. It was episode 186 where we talked about the founding of JotForm and how you were working as a developer, getting bored by creating manually all these forms that you were building on the job. And I was looking through some of the notes, and then you'd said, "Hey, if I ever run a business, if I ever quit my job, I should go and build some kind of form building software." And we took the story through to 2018 when I think you had about 4 million users already, multiple seven-figure business in terms of ARR. Where have you got to now? Like, how's the business doing? What's the size of the business today?
It's going great. We have grown to like 500 employees now. We have offices in 7 cities all around the world. And now we have like 20 million users at JotForm. So we are doing great. And we continue to grow at around 50% revenue growth rate.
Wow, that is worlds apart from where you were when you came up with the idea and built the first version of that product. So congratulations on
It's been 17 years. It's been a long time.
it. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So today we're going to talk about your new book, which is called Automate Your Busy Work, Do Less, Achieve More, and Save Your Brain for the Big Stuff. And, you and I were talking and we thought it would be a great idea. You're a founder. This show is mostly people, in the SaaS space, early stage founders. And so what could we do to help them to take advantage of some of the things that you've been able to do in terms of the way you run your business? And this book basically has a bunch of great ideas in terms of how people can use automation, no code tools to unlock productivity, get rid of a lot of the repetitive tasks that many of us have to do day in, day out. So we can focus more on the important things. So before we get into that, like, what inspired you to write this book?
So as you remember, this original story for JotForm, I was working for a company as a developer in New York, and I was like, I really loved my job, but there was one task that I really hated, and that was like creating online forms. And we had like 100 websites, and I had to like create so many forms, and I wanted to find a way to automate creation of these forms. That's actually how I started JotForm. I couldn't find a way to automate the forms, so I said, okay, I'm going to do a product that automates the form. But once I started JotForm, I found out that people actually needed more things. Like the forms are just the beginning of the journey. There is this whole business process right after creation of the forms. They need a lot of other things, like people fill out forms so that they can register for stuff, they can apply for things, request things. Like it's just the first step in a journey, and I wanted to like help them out in all the way on the journey. So we added features like automating like document creation, like PDF generation. Like they are able to create custom emails. Like we have an Airtable like product, like a spreadsheet product where they can actually do lots of different things with their data. And we have reporting, and we have so many custom features like JotForm time. But in the early days, I was helping all these people with the automation of their business. I was helping them automate their business processes, but I was struggling myself. Like I was spending all my day answering emails, like supporting customers. Like, we weren't very big. Like we had like 3 to 5 employees, but still, like it was taking me time to manage them because, before I started my company, I never managed anyone. So I was just learning this management stuff as well. And like I was doing all the things like accounting, HR, like ordering snacks for the office. So it was just too much. And I was like overwhelmed. I was over my head, and it wasn't easy. And then one day, a friend of mine sent me an email. and he said, "Hey, did you see that Google actually came up with a competitive product? Now you're competing with Google." And I was like, I was shocked. Like, okay, now I'm already spending all this time like just trying to all the operations of the business, and I have no time to actually think about anything else, like really grow the product, really improve the quality of the product, and come up with new feature ideas, things like that. And now Google, I was competing with Google, so it was really bad news, and I was like really shocked about it. And I started thinking about it. Okay, I thought that I'm helping all these people automating their businesses, but I'm doing everything manually. Like there's something wrong with this. I wasn't even using our own product, forms for many of the things I could use for. And I thought, okay, why don't I apply my own medicine to my own business? Why don't I start automating things? And that just started things. And I first started with my emails, supporting customers, product development, and like accounting, HR. I started automating as much as possible, and this allowed me to actually be able to spend more of my time on my business as opposed to like in my business. This is like business 101, but I was making this mistake in the first years. And it worked, and we have grown to this much larger company now, and Google didn't beat us, and we are really big now, and we have 500 employees, and people love our product, and we continue to grow our product to new features and new ideas, and this worked out really well. So I thought, I've been able to do this, and I've been able to actually teach my company, teach my employees to also automate as much as possible. Like we have this really try to do everything with automation. Why don't I also? And I have also been applying these automation principles to my own like product as well. Like in the product, we automate as much as possible, help people automate things. So I thought, why don't I actually provide this information to the world? Like, why don't I share this? Like, I developed this framework that I call the automation flywheel. Why don't I share it with the world? And I have a blog. I write on like Fast Company, Entrepreneur, Medium, and JotForm blog. But this wasn't something I could just do with a blog post. This was long. But I didn't expect it to be this big. Like it took me more than a year, but it turned out really well. Like I really was able to write a great book, and I'm very proud of it. And it's gonna come out on May 16. That's the story of my book. Yeah,
That's great. That's great. I think back then when you were doing a lot of this automation, I mean, you're a developer, you can code. Automation becomes easier. If you can spin up like a Python script to do something, great. But for the majority of people who can't code, it's always been a difficult thing to do. And recently, with so, the prevalence of so many no-code tools around now, it's becoming more and more easier and accessible for anybody to start automating so much of what they do. So we're going to dig into that, and we're going to talk about some real-world examples of how you've used it and how you're using it in the company. But just give us an overview of the book, like what are the main themes in the book? And then you mentioned the automation flywheel. What I'd like to do is to dig into what exactly that flywheel is. We'll talk about the specific, the 6 steps of that flywheel, and then we'll put it into practice. But maybe just start with like, what are the main themes in the book?
So, I mean, one of the reasons the book was really hard to write was because my publisher, Wiley, really wanted me to write a book for everyone, but not just for like developers. And every time I tried to write about those kind of like Python stuff, this has to be available to everyone. Anybody who gets this book should understand and be able to apply the ideas. And I put like so much examples and case studies in this book, but all these examples and case studies and tools are, I think, temporary, because it's just like the amount of change is like incredible. Like all these AI tools are coming out every day. There are new SaaS products are coming out. So I mean, those examples are great, but really it's about understanding the fundamentals of the automation. So I start the book with that. Like I try to explain the fundamentals of automation. I talk about something I call automation first mindset, where I talk about things like, in the importance of laziness. Bill Gates said, like, I would give a hard job to a lazy person because the lazy person would find a way to solve it. There are things like that. It's important to be impatient. It's important to be lazy, so you don't put up with doing the same things again and again. It's also important to have this systems thinking, so that you look at things as systems. Otherwise, it's just everything is very can become confusing. So systems thinking is an important part of that automation first mindset as well. So I talk about the automation first mindset. And I also talk about the framework that I developed, the automation flywheel. And that's a process of continuous improvement. And it allows you to kind of start from zero. Like you have no automations. You are like me in 2008, like completely over your head. Like it's just so much busy work. And where do you go? The automation flywheel framework actually takes you step by steps to build a system where you have most of your stuff automated and you can continuously improve that. And once I talk about these fundamentals, then I go into more examples. Like I talk about like how to automate your creativity, how to automate your growth, and I give examples to this kinds of different ideas. And rest of the book is a lot of examples, recipes. But as I said, like those examples are not going to be useful in 5 years. But more important is to get the idea about the importance of the automation and how to apply in your business, and the principles about how you apply those principles, those ideas.
Yeah, that's great. I think I'm a lazy person because I think one of the things that really frustrates me is when I have to do something twice and I know I'm going to have to do it a third time. I know there's an opportunity to automate something, but being able to step away from the day-to-day work to think about it and to figure out a solution and implement a solution is where things fall apart. And it's like, yeah, I'll do that one day. So that's what I liked about the flywheel, that it kind of just gives you like a good framework just to think about, okay, when these things come up, or being a little bit more proactive in sort of the areas that you're spending your time, what you can start to do and actually follow through to implement some of these things. So why don't we jump into that? Like the flywheel, the 6 steps, and I think you kind of group them in pairs. So the first 2 were like divide and conquer. Second, the 3 and 4 were like design and implement, and then refine and iterate. So let's talk through each one of those. And if you can just explain to us what they mean, why you think this is an important part of the process, that would be great. Maybe even we can kind of touch on some brief examples before we go into deep dive into some of the things that you're actually doing.
So the automation flywheel is a process of continuous improvement, and but it's not just like one thing you do once, and it's not even like something you do for a while and then you stop. It's a flywheel. It's a continuous process. You have to continue doing that, and it's just you have to start somewhere, and you keep doing that, and you get dividends as you get more and more automations. But it helps you build systems. So you start with nothing, and then you have the systems, and then you go from there, and it keeps improving your productivity. But with the automation flywheel, you kind of have to first decide like what you should do and what you shouldn't be doing. Like it's not about just automating everything. I don't think it makes sense to automate everything. I think it makes sense to look at what you are doing, prioritize what you are doing, and things that you don't care about that you should be automating, and the things that really helps you should stay not automated. For example, like things like growing yourself, like reading books or researching stuff. You shouldn't be automating those things, because it's just when you do those things, you're not just doing something, you're actually learning more stuff. But to get to the actual automation flywheel, it's a circle. It starts with divide and conquer, and the divide step is about looking at what you are doing and deciding what should be automated. And one of the techniques I describe in the book is something I call auditing your workday. So basically, you can put triggers every hour, and at the end of every hour, you can just write down, what you did during that hour, and you do this for a week, and a week is usually enough. That you can find out like how you are spending your time, and you can decide, okay, hey, I shouldn't be spending my time with this kind of stuff, and I should be spending my time with this kind of stuff. Like I should be spending my time with, coming up with great ideas for my product, but I shouldn't be spending my time with really, answering these emails. Like those are a waste of time for me. And so you first divide, and then the concourse step is about basically you spot workflows from these work, because the things you do are not just single things. Like they are not just single to do items. When you look at what you do, you'll find out that you're actually spending your time with things that are like series of tasks, and we call them workflows. And workflows can involve multiple people. So if HR related task is done, like you have to speak with the person, speak with the HR department. Like there are lots of steps involved, and it's not just happening in a single moment. It can take a long time. So the conquer step is about actually understanding the workflows involved. The next step is design and implement. And the design step, you actually decide what you should be automating, like which parts of these workflows can be automated, and which parts should be automated. And in the implementation step, and there are like so many no-code products, you research all the products, and you find the products that really works for you, for your case. And in the book, I described like how to pick products, like how to use GT for reviews, how to make sure that they have updates, like, and they have a long history, and they are trustable. So those kind of things, and then you implement those automations. And in the next step, in the refine step, you create KPIs, and you look at the numbers of your automations, how they are doing. And because when you do things manually, you can actually see if things break down or things are working out well. But when you start automating, you have to actually keep watch, and you have to monitor what's going on. And that requires like keeping an eye on the KPIs, and that requires you to kind of refine the automations you do. And the final step, the sixth step, is to iterate, which is about if you are doing automations in one way, changing them, innovating your automations, updating them. So it's basically all these automations you're building turn into systems. And these systems require kind of maintenance. But the great thing is like you are actually spending most of your time with the stuff that you care about. And only, you're only monitoring them so that you're making sure that nothing is breaking down. And the great thing about this, the flywheel is you don't actually have to even automate things. Like even if you just use the flywheel's first two steps, divide and conquer, even if you create like workflow diagrams, and if you document your work, when you are doing that, it's a great exercise. Like you can actually understand what you are spending your time on the divide step, and in the conquer step, you can actually understand, like create the workflows, document what you are doing, and you can delegate stuff. Even if you don't automate it, you can delegate it to someone else in your company. So I think this is a great exercise. But I think in the end, you'll find that there are really good automation tools. And there is just like there's this no-code revolution. There's this SaaS revolution. Like there's just thousands of great products out there, and many people are not even aware of them. And they are actually struggling. And there's an automation tool that's available for them, but they're not even aware of it. So the goal of this automation flywheel is to help people kind of find their way so that they can build their automation and systems.
Got it. Right. So I think that's a good distinction, that the first two, divide and conquer. It's like whether you're going to use automation, no code tools or not, that's a good process that everybody should go through to get better awareness of how they're spending their time, how things could be systematized, automated, whatever, right? And then the design and implement is when you're actually going and putting those things together into practice. And then refine and iterate is about continue looking for improvements to do better and better with that. How many, like ballpark, like how many automations do you think you're using right now? One of the things, I mean, I've tried to do this, and I do this in some areas, using some no-code tools or Zapier and whatever. But I've also found that things get out of control very easily, in the sense that maybe I didn't document something, and so something breaks down the line, and I can't remember where I set it up or which tools I used. I think it was Zapier, but was it something else? And what was triggering this? And yes, you can go and look at the Zap to see how you set that up. But just to me, that's the one thing, is like, as you have more and more of these automations, it just feels like there's a whole bunch of stuff that you could potentially break and you need to track. So what does that look like for you, and how do you stay sane with all of that going on around you?
There's no way to tell like how many automations I have. Like it's pretty high. Even on Gmail, I have like 3,000 filters. Okay.
Wow.
So I mean, but that I created that for over the years, like probably in like 10 years. So it's not something like I spend like ton of time, in a single day. So there's just a lot of automations, but that's why actually the last step, refine and iterate, is required, so that all these systems are kind of being monitored, so you are aware of what's going on. When things break down, you are aware of that. So you kind of have to have like that mindset that, when something breaks down, you get notified about it, and you have to catch those things and keep following them.
Okay, well, you mentioned Gmail and filters, and we're going to go into that. So you and I talked about like, hey, let's pick out like 3 real world examples of how you're automating your Busywork and in your company, so it can help other people, other founders, try to apply some of these lessons with these examples. And so we picked, as a starting point, was the automation of email with Gmail and filters, because that's something, it's kind of like the first step to doing automation, and anybody can start to do that fairly easily. The second one we picked was how you're automating your product development in terms of continuous testing, deployment, bug tracking. And so we're going to talk about that. And then the third one is how you've automated your HR onboarding. So those, I think, are 3 good scenarios that we can talk about. Let's get started with the Gmail one first, because I think that's the one that most people will understand fairly easily.
Yeah, as I mentioned, like in the first day, even during the first days, like I was receiving a lot of emails, and I was struggling with this incoming number of emails. And there are emails that are really important, and there are emails that are not that important, but you have to check them all. So in the beginning, I started with Inbox Zero. Inbox Zero is really good because if you apply Inbox Zero, you don't miss any emails. Like you never, have someone, saying, "Oh, you missed my email. You never returned to me," or something like that. It's great, but at some point, Inbox Zero even starts not working, because the amount of emails is increasing, and then you're spending so much time like trying to clean them up. So my second step was to actually build this automation solution using only Gmail's like labels and filters. That's it. There's nothing else. I mean, I actually looked at all the products available, and I couldn't find one that really worked for me. So after searching for so many solutions, okay, I decided, okay, hey, Gmail actually has a lot of these features. So why don't our company is already using Gmail. So why don't I try to do this on Gmail? And I was thinking, if I can't get this done with labels and filters, I could use the Gmail's app script. But I never needed that. I never needed to use that. Just it was enough to use the labels and filters. So here's it works. So the biggest problem for me was the amount of emails I receive and the priority of the emails. And it's just there's some important email that's sitting there, and then when I process the inbox zero, I will start from the oldest email. It will take me a long time, and I have like many meetings, so between the meetings I won't have too much time. So these emails would wait multiple days. So what I did was I created just three labels, level 1, level 2, and level 3. So level 1 is for the really high priority urgent stuff. And for example, if our VP of HR sends a direct email to me, that goes to my level 1. My publisher is Wiley. If they send me an email, like if it's coming from the domain wiley.com, it's going to go to my level 1 email inbox. So it's only a few emails are coming through. So to level 1. So this way, it's not like becoming large, it's staying small. And I'm always like updating my filters to make sure that if I'm waiting for an important email or something, it's going to go to L1. So this worked great. Even when I'm on vacation, let's say I have like half an hour every day to check my emails. I will start with level 1. Let's say I have like 10 emails. I will just process all those emails, clean up my level 1. And, I'm not going to look even the other emails at all because they can wait. So the level 2 is from emails from the people I know, like people I communicate with. If they send me a direct email, like someone sends me an email and in the 2 fields, it's just written to me, that goes to my level 2. And level 3 is for all the other emails that I care about, like reports, like email threads where I'm included, that I should probably be reading the thread, but it's okay if I read it a week later. And like newsletters, things like that. I mean, I still read these emails, but it takes me a longer time. Maybe I will process them, it will take me a week to read them, but that's okay. And everything else, like all this marketing spam, everything else goes to my default inbox. And I will clean that up time to time because, 1 in 100, 1 in 1,000, there's going to be like an important email that didn't go to one of the filters. So I'm going to create a filter for that. That's why I have like 3,000 filters, because over time I created all these filters. So basically by default, every email goes to my inbox, and the important emails go to my priority inboxes that I created. But here's the most important part. I never go directly to my inbox. What I have bookmarks in my browser, and I will just click on the bookmark that says like L1, level 1. And then the first thing I do when I want to check my emails, I will go to that bookmark and go to L1 emails, and I will process that. And after I process that, I go to L2 or L3. And so this way, I'm prioritizing emails. And even though I receive hundreds of emails every day, I'm keeping it safe. So this saved me a lot of time. And it also, keeps me on top of important and urgent information.
Does that work for you on mobile? Because I think most mobile apps tend to default to the inbox. And
yeah, I mean, I have to search for L1. So it's not as working as well as the desktop, but the bookmarks still work on mobile. If I'm using like an iPad or iPhone, like I could use Safari. But as you said, like Gmail, I couldn't find a way on the Gmail app to directly go select L1 emails in inbox.
Great. So I think that's a great starting point. And if someone's listening to this and they're not doing that, that's a great place that you could get started today, right? Like even just looking through your inbox and seeing the kinds of things that are most important, but they're kind of almost hidden because you've got so much other low priority stuff sitting in your inbox that you could start tackling. Let's move on to the next one, because now we're moving up a little bit and getting a little more complicated with automation, and I think this one will be very relevant for people listening to this as well. Is how you automate product development, and there's a lot of moving parts with building a product. Tell us specifically about what this automation is about.
This is actually used by many companies, so this is not like unique to me or my company. And it's continuous integration and deployment, and it's very popular among companies that follow the lean development methods. But in the beginning, the first years of JotForm, we didn't have that. Like it would take us like 6 months to release our products, and it would be a big event, and like customers would revolt because like we would have like so many bugs and we would change so many things that they wouldn't like. And so from moving from there to continuous integration and deployment made a huge difference for us because now we are only releasing gradually, like small changes, and if something breaks, we are quickly aware of it and we can fix it quickly. And so we are using things like Jenkins. So anytime a developer actually makes a commit, and then it's getting reviewed by there's pull requests, it's getting reviewed, but right after that, it's going to be released on our app, and we have all these automated testing that checks for everything, like unit tests and all these other tests are being applied, and it goes automatically and becomes live automatically. And we also do the same for the enterprise as well. Enterprise goes a little bit later. The regular version actually becomes live pretty quickly, and we had that since like 2010. So it's been a long time, more than a decade, and it's been great. And automating things as much as possible allowed our team to become really developed our product much more easily, much more. When a new developer joins, on the first day, we ask that person to actually, write some code and change something on JotForm, and that's like great. And it also makes sure that we actually are handling everything else. Like they're getting their computer on their first day, they have their accounts, so they can, like, everything is in order, and then on top of that, that developer actually makes a commit and then updates the JotForm product. Like it could be like a spelling change or like something like that. They make a change, and they see that it's not a big deal. Like they can also how we develop quickly, and how we care about automating everything as much as possible. And so we also apply the similar principles to like testing. For example, we use Test.io, which is like a crowd testing platform. And then when we want something to be tested, we send it to them, and then all this crowd goes and finds all these problems on different browser types, and then sends to us. And so we are aware of all the problems. And we do usertesting.com. Also, we use a lot that we get feedback from people about the changes we make. And we try to apply automation to every part of our product development as well. And that resulted in much. It's not just about making it faster. It's also about the developer productivity and happiness, like preventing burnout. And when you have to wait like 3 months or 6 months for a release, it's just it's kind of stressful. The launch day is a big event, But when you're continuously deploying your product, it's not an event. The new version is not a big event. So it's been working so well so far for us, and we continue to automate everything as much as possible.
So the product development piece, and the continuous integration, the CI/CD, and all of this stuff. This sounds very kind of dev focused. Obviously, is there kind of like no code components to that, or is this mostly just about the kind of day-to-day stuff that developers would tend to do anyway, and using tools like Jenkins in terms of getting more efficient with the way they build and ship products?
I think at JotForm we kind of have, we build our own tools. We just love to build our own tools. Like we have our own bug tracking system that we developed. Our support system is also something we developed. So it's we kind of use our own tools here, and it's just we are so much developer oriented because when I started JotForm, I was a developer. So it's just from the first day, we were doing our own tools. So in terms of the product development, we are pretty much mostly using our own tools.
That's really interesting. I think at this point of size of a company, I would have expected you to say, no, we don't want to be building this stuff. We will just buy the best of breed out there. But that's a very different kind of culture to have. I'd love to talk about that, but that's going to take us down a completely different rabbit hole. So we'll have to save that for another day. So let's get on to the third one, how you've automated your HR onboarding. So maybe kind of just tell us what was the challenge that the team was facing, and then how did you go about figuring out how to implement the solution?
Yeah, I mean, this was before the pandemic. So we were still sending people papers, and they were signing it, scanning it, sending us back to, and we were doing everything manually. It was taking us so much time, and we were making mistakes. And, someone on HR department is on vacation, and someone, doesn't sign an NDA. We forget to get their computer or things like that. So when you do things manually, that creates a lot of, it's easy to miss stuff. It's easy to make mistakes. So we started kind of using JotForm for this, automated as much as possible as JotForm. But then we actually switched to Bamboo HR because we were actually in the process of getting SOC 2 compliant, and we needed to use a SOC 2 compliant HR product. But now that we are SOC 2 compliant, we got the compliance, we are actually switching back to JotForm to do everything. But the great thing is in the past, we would spend so many things, we would be late. Someone would start at the job and then they would get their computer late. It was very easy to miss stuff, and it was just so much time consuming. And once we streamlined this with kind of automating every step, like creating the forms and creating automated emails with instructions, with collecting signatures electronically, and asking, approvals being done also online. JotForm also has a approvals product. And so doing all these things in a way that's streamlined and automated actually made it much better, and we were able to do it much faster. And when we started doing things when we started having a bigger internship program, and when we started having the part-time program for students, having an existing automated solution really made it very easy for us to also, add the automations for them as well. And this onboarding is something, you don't want to make a mistake because someone is starting at your company, and you want to spend your time talking to them, being nice to them and getting them excited about the company. You don't want to, miss documents or forget stuff and start your relationship with a mistake.
So just maybe kind of give me a little bit more details on how that works. So the onboarding, somebody's using JotForm. We know that if you're using a Zapier type integration or automation, there's a trigger there's, something that happens, and then you're integrating with some other app to get some kind of result or outcome. With using JotForm, how does it start? Does it start with somebody going in and filling in a form that there's a new hire, and then that does something? Like where does this? How does it actually work?
Exactly. I mean, it starts with, so after the interview process, if when we decide to hire someone, it starts with that trigger, with the filling out the form. And when the form is filled out, this actually goes to approval. And using JotForm's workflow and approval features, this is approved, and someone approves in the higher management. And then once the approval is, and this is very fast because it sends an email and you see the email and approve it. And then this will trigger, all the required, documents, we need to call, they need to sign some documents, and, different teams actually receive information about the incoming person. So our office managers, they need to prepare the hardware, like the computer and monitor and other things for this person. So they receive notification and the start date, and so they can start preparing for those things. Sometimes people are remote, so they need to ship out those things and on time. And so we give someone a buddy, and that person, from the first day, that person works with their buddy, and they get to know each other and help out with learning the culture and the company. So there are trainings, like there's a security training that needs to be completed during the first week. So all those things are actually automated using JotForm's workflow features. And we also have a Sign product, JotForm Sign. And as I said, forms are the first point, and there's a journey. And over the years, we added all these steps needed during the journey. But we also have integrations with all kinds of products. For example, in our sales, we collect leads with a leads form, but then that form, the data is actually sent to HubSpot because we keep track of our customers there. So there is an integration with that. So Zapier, and we also have some native integrations. So we handle all those things during onboarding, and then we also send a survey to make sure that we didn't miss anything, and we also keep track of the times and how long it took and if there were any errors, any mistakes about it, we keep track of them.
So if someone's listening to this, let's say somebody, a founder, CEO, listening to this and thinking, okay, sounds great. But Aytekin, you've been doing this for years, and so it's probably second nature to you. I can see a bunch of things that me personally could improve, but this person maybe is also thinking, I've also got a team, and I can see a whole bunch of opportunities there, and I've got to run my business. So, what would be some parting advice that you could give them, other than reading the book? And we'll tell people where they can get the book in a minute. What advice would you give them to get started on this journey so it's an easier transition for them to make if they're not already doing these types of automations?
I would recommend doing an audit of their workday and answering two questions. What should I be spending my time with, and what I shouldn't be doing? And the second question is more important. What you shouldn't spend your time on, what kind of task that's taking your time, and they shouldn't be taking your time, because you are a business owner, you have a SaaS business, and the most important thing for you is to grow your business and grow your product, make your product better, and bring more people to your product. So you should be spending your time with those things. So I would start with an audit, and that would help them, even if they don't automate them. And automation is also a delegation. When you automate things, you delegate your work to the machine. So that's going to help them with their time, and help them discover how they are spending their time.
Awesome. Great. So the book is called Automate Your Busy Work, Do Less, Achieve More, and Save Your Brain for the Big Stuff. If people, you want to check it out, you can go to saasclub.io/automate-book. And the book is being published, you said May 16th? Great. So, and again, congratulations on what you've been able to do with this business from the the early days of just the idea, and I love this whole concept that we often talk about follow your passion, and this was a passion in the sense that you passionately hated building forms, and it kind of led you on this journey to where you are in this business today. And clearly, I think this automation stuff is not something that you've just started doing. It's been something that for a long time you've been trying and implementing in your own day-to-day life and with the business as it's grown. So, we can see the results, and hopefully this will be helpful for other founders as well to free up some time and start focusing on the things that are really going to drive their business forward. So I appreciate you making the time to do this, and congratulations on where you've taken the business. And I wish you and the team the best of success for the future.
Thank you, Omar, for having me on this show. It was great. Thank you.
My pleasure. All the best. Cheers.
Bye.